Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Inside the Champ. I'm your host, Drekken, and this is the post-game show where we mine for insights to make your StarCraft life better. So this is an interesting episode. We haven't done an interview here on the show, but first time for everything. I'm joined with Anthony Martin from Sc2ReplayStats. Anthony, how are you?
Doing pretty good. And yourself?
You know what? I am doing fantastic because we get to dive into, I think, a very important site in the StarCraft 2 community, and you're going to be here with me to go through it.
I'm excited. Let's do it.
Okay, perfect. So from those of you who've tuned into the show before, you know that normally we go through replays and we talk about a lot of the different aspects of what players are doing and like what were some of the mindsets on it. This is a little bit different. We're kind of focusing more on the individual, not just other players' replays, your replays, or in this case, my replays or Tara's replays, who's going to be going through it with us. My goal with this show has always been trying to help people in the community learn, just learn from the ground up. And with that said in mind, I thought this interview would be absolutely perfect to go through. So before we get into it though, let's dive into the story of Sc2ReplayStats. So I want to know from you, Anthony, right? Tell me the story of how you first came up with this idea for the website.
Oof. All right. So the idea.
Don't worry, I'm strapped in, ready.
Way back when. So really what it came down to was, GG Tracker was created before I created Sc2ReplayStats. I liked what GG Tracker did, but it didn't fill the void for what I was interested in. I've always been interested in knowing my global stats. So for a season, I want to know my win-loss. I want to know, am I beating diamonds, platinums, masters, whatever. I want to know that win ratios. And there wasn't any way to do that. And if you think back, back when the site was created, Blizzard didn't actually even give you map stats. There was no win-loss for maps. You got a win-loss. And then they even hid that for a while.
This was back in like 2013, right?
2013, somewhere right around there. So there just wasn't any way to globally, see, given this amount of replays, what does my win ratio look like? In a way that I like to ingest. And so that's really how the site started out. Was I created it for me. I did not have any intention of making it public. I didn't build a user system. I wrote it for me. It uploaded my replays and showed me information about my games. And all it showed was win-loss by map, and then win-loss by division. Were basically the key things.
Did Stark have an open API then? Like, did you just like?
No. Just took a replay file, and at that point, I was using SC2 Gears, another program people may or may not have heard of, to process the replays, because Blizzard didn't have an official way to do it. It was all black box, figure it out kind of stuff.
Holy crap.
So I used SC2 Gears behind the scenes to process it locally, and then I was actually pushing the data up to my server. And I did that for a few months, and I showed a few of my buddies, and like, hey, look, this is kind of cool. I can see my win ratios. And they're like, I want it. I want it now.
Give me that.
I'm like, I didn't really write it so you could have it. All right, give me some time, So I made some user accounts, and I spun it up to friends, and then really it just kind of ran that way for a long time. Just friends, word of mouth. I did no promotion, I didn't really publicly release it. It was just, if you knew about it, you could use it. And then that ran that way for about 6 months. And then I decided to push it a little bit, and then I, slowly went from there. And we're 5-6 years later.
It sounds like a story of like every Silicon Valley website. I made this for myself, and then other people thought it was super cool, and then they came onto it. When you came up with it, it was to like sort of scratch your own itch. Like it was
Yes.
You want it for your own self. Was there a time that you were ever frustrated with like becoming like improving, or was it like you were already doing pretty well? Because this feels like a very companion app in many ways with you.
It definitely is a companion app, and it has definitely grown more into that. Originally, no, it wasn't scratching the improve itch. It was more scratching. I like stats. I like to know, areas I should focus on. I'm very competitive, and so the only way to really improve, in my mind, is you have to know where you're weak at. And so feedback. And so that's, like I said, I was really interested in, win-loss by matchup. That was really important to me. I wanted to know, back then I was playing Protoss, am I losing to Zergs, Terran, PvP, what am I losing in, and then at what level am I losing in? So I know where I need to focus at, where do I need to find practice partners to actually help me improve? And that was the goal of why I created it for me. So,
but now it's kind of grown into even into like your elite options. It's grown into like this digital coach. How did that kind of come about?
So that happened about 2.5 years ago, maybe 3 years ago now. I had an idea. I was coaching a lot of people. I'd have people upload a replay to the site and then send it to me, and I would give them feedback. And I noticed that I was giving very much the same feedback every game from anywhere between like bronze and diamond. It was very consistent on what I was giving feedback for. I was giving feedback for macro specific things. And I started wondering, I'm like, wonder if I can actually make a way that I can suggest the same things I'm doing with my own time automatically. Given enough data, why not? And the site had started to grow, and I had enough replays that I felt that I could process higher level replays and provide that information to somebody.
So do you did you like analyze higher level replays and like disseminate data to like compare people against? Is that like?
Yep. So what it does, how it works, is if you're in gold, let's say, it's going to compare you to the average platinum player for a bunch of different metrics.
Right.
Workers produced, building time created.
This is based off of data of all the other users who
millions and millions of data points, basically.
Right.
And so it comes up with a really nice average that you can use to say, okay, as a gold player, I managed to build 12 workers in the early part of the game. Well, in platinum, they're building 17. I need to work on building workers.
Right.
Pretty cut and dry. You can make that connection now. And so that's what that feature was for. Little interesting fact about that feature, when I first did it, I actually did it in Excel. I wasn't exactly sure how to make it work. And I didn't want to write, 1,000+ lines of code to try an idea. So I used Excel to run basically the different averages to make sure it would work the way I thought it would before I even committed to start writing the code. And it works. It did get me my proof of concept quickly.
Yeah, it was like, I'm never gonna be one to knock down Excel because I have put in so many things into Excel to kind of like, figure out things as like even from like minimum like groceries to spreads of data. So Excel is almost like a one-size-fit-all kind of workhorse. But with you and this, like, actually, I want to know, what level are you in like StarCraft? What league? I don't think I didn't even ask that in the pre-show.
I'm Masters 3. I float between 47 and 4,900 MMR as Zerg. I used to play TOS. I've been Masters for ages with TOS. I don't play TOS anymore. I play random. Zerg's what I consider my main. Terran's a little lower. I'm probably really low Masters 3. I'm in Diamond right now, but I can't stand TVT, so I don't ladder much. So, but yeah, so like I said, I float between 47, 49. 47's comfortable. 49 is everything's clicking. So.
Did you? And then so when you started the site, though, what league were you in?
Let's see. I probably was gold or platinum.
So did you use the site at all to improve yourself to get to Masters?
Yep. Again, my goal was to help pinpoint my weak areas in matchups when I started the site. So yeah, I did.
So what do you think your, I guess, number one weakness was? Like,
PVZ.
let you. Oh, okay.
PVZ. 100%. I struggled versus Zerg. You know, and if I made it to the super late game, you know, the whole Rude Lord Infester, Archon Toilet stuff, I was okay at that, but getting there was tough. So.
And was it more like the data you got from there that was able to help you come to epiphany that like, PVZ was like your weakest?
Yeah, it pretty much pinpointed instantly when you look at a site and it says, hey, you have a 30% win ratio in this matchup and you destroy it in PvP and you own Terrans, but you have a 30% or less win ratio. Yeah, maybe you should look at that a little more.
So when you see something like that, though, as in like data, how do you turn that into like information? Like, how do you turn that into something that's like, okay, I know I'm weak in PvZ. How do you say, okay, work on it? But like, how do you know what to work on?
So back in the day when I first created the site, there wasn't a way. The site wasn't that detailed. It didn't go into that kind of depth. Now you have lots of options. Now you have lots of options. The training center is a great option if you're, like I said, anywhere between bronze and I'd say low masters. I think it works really well. It loses some value past that. But the training center is a phenomenal tool because it's going to give you very cut and dry, you know, suggestions on what you should focus on, keeping supply blocks down, you know, building workers, making sure your production facilities are actually doing something, you know, very, very pointed instructions for you to focus on. And then you also could dive into the deep detail of it, of how those things come up. And then on top of that, just on the free part of the site, you can look at a replay, a specific replay file, and at any point in the game, you can see workers, resources collection, my units, buildings that were built. Anything you want is at your fingertip, and you can scroll on the timeline and see it all instantly. You don't have to wait. You know, like if you're watching a replay, you'd have to unfortunately wait. You don't have to do that on the site if you want to just check some things really quickly.
Okay, we're going to definitely go into the nitty-gritty of the site in a second, and there are a couple of things I'm curious about before we do that.
Sure.
You've had this site going on, so like let's say 2003, so 5 years. Yeah, we're 2018 now, so that means you must have had at least tons of people who have come to you about the site and told you how awesome or not awesome it is. Is there a favorite story from somebody, a user from the site that you can think of?
Favorite story for somebody that's reached out. So a lot of people. So there's a lot of people that have used the site over the years. One of the things that I've always found interesting is, so if you're playing a 1v1, right, you're using a site, let's say your opponent's not. When you get done, you would upload the replay. Well, your opponent doesn't really authorize the uploading of the replay here, but you did. So I've had lots of people reach out to me, really freaked out, like, I didn't say you could upload this replay. You know, where did you get this?
How do they find that out? Like, what do they just Google their name and like?
Yeah, they just Google it and they find their name and then it shows up as a link. But what I found that's always very interesting, and they're always like really freaked out. They demand that the replay be removed. But what I've always it's always just busted me up, is about 9 out of 10 times this has happened. I mean, maybe 9.5 out of 10 times. They're like silver, bronze. They're really not GM. They're not a pro player that's worried about a bill getting out. No, they're just somebody that's worried about it. You know, I think a few people believe that the replay file contains personal information, which it doesn't. There's zero personal information in it. Without somebody reaching out like that, I'd have no idea who they are. And no way to find that information out. But I've always thought that was kind of funny when it's happened. You know, and it has happened in a while. It happened a lot a couple of years ago. It was like I was getting 1 or 2 a month. I was just so confused. I'm like, what's going on? Really?
And did you take it down? Like, what was the end result?
So the end result, well, so right away, my first approach was no. It's like, well, they own the replay. They have every right to upload it.
Right, the other person.
Their account. that didn't fly super well with a lot of people. And so then it kind of turned into some heated discussion, and I try not to irritate people if I can. So I implemented a feature where I can make a specific replay private, and then only the owner of the replay can view it. So it accomplishes the same goal that they're looking for without hurting the user that's actually using the site.
So is that how it is currently right now, that replay would be private?
Yeah, I'd have to manually do it. There's no way for a user to manually select a replay and make it private. You can make your whole account private, and then it won't show up anywhere. None of the replays show up.
Right.
But if you have a public account, I can go in and make a specific replay private. And the only time I ever do it is if somebody complains. That's it. So.
Which makes sense. Was there ever someone that came to you that you were proud to help from the site?
Proud to help.
Yeah.
I don't know anybody in particular, but I have had a lot of positive feedback over the years. A lot of people that are very thankful that I have spent the time creating the site.
Yeah. Was there any good stories from one of those people at all?
They're nothing that I can really share. So unfortunately.
Oh no, that's okay. What about features? Was there any features that you added to the site that you didn't think of? So
yeah, actually, there's actually a lot of features, and I always love it when people email me and have ideas. I don't necessarily always implement them, but I love it if people give me ideas. So
what's your favorite one?
Well, so a couple of the very public features that were not my idea, they were HTO Mario's, is where they came from. So the Twitch bot, the bot that sends a message into your Twitch chat after you play a game as a streamer and links the replay file, that idea came directly from HTO Mario. It was a MechGM Terran that used the site. That 100% his idea. As soon as he suggested it, I'm like, that's a phenomenal idea. I love it. Let's do it.
Boom.
Yeah, boom. And I made it happen. So the current streaming overlay that the site has, the current design and the way it looks, that is an idea that came from Winner StarCraft.
Winner.
So that's the way it looks is because of him. That was a lot of what he was looking for, and so I made it happen for him.
A lot of feedback from him. Okay. And is there one more? If not, that's fine. But
one more feature.
One more feature.
The dashboard definitely came from other people too. Like some of the elements on the dashboard. Like I think there's a 30-day dashboard element. Might be a 20-day. I don't use it, so I'm not aware of it. But it's for GMs. It's whatever the time frame it is for GMs, the games they got to play. And so that was that had been requested so they could easily see had they played enough games to maintain GM.
That's a good feature to have.
So, but yeah, I mean, I would say maybe 15 to 20% of the features on the site were user suggested features. At one point in time.
20%? 20?
Yeah, most, I mean, a good chunk of them. They're not necessarily my ideas. They're people that have suggested ideas on how they would like to see the site run or, operate. And as long as it met with the goals that I was trying to obtain, I'm more than willing to do it.
And before we jump in, what is your main goal?
So the main goal, it's a hobby project. So it has no intentions of trying to make it my full-time job. It is a hobby project, and it'll stay a hobby project probably forever. The goal of the site is always to try to be consistent with improving. So as long as I felt the feature helped someone obtain improvement, I was more than willing to do it. If I felt that it was fluff, I'm not as willing to do it. So it takes a lot of people asking for it before I would do something like that.
Okay, and that makes a tons of sense. Why don't we dive right in? I am anxious to dive right in and let's see it. Tara, why don't you give us the wheel? Let's see. Let's pull it up and let's take a look right into the nuts and bolts. All right, Tara, give us that magic. Oh, here we come. Something's happening. Here we go. Oh, well, Can't quite see it just yet. Oh, it's gone. Okay, while we try to get it up, it's going through. With, oh yeah, that's okay. If someone like Little Johnny, let's use Little Johnny, is in Silver League, how would he use the site to get to Masters?
So first, he's got to sign up. That important step. Gotta get an account. So once you sign up, the key thing is definitely to upload your replays. I do provide automatic software for both Windows and Mac that'll do it automatically. It just watches your replay folder, and as soon as a new replay appears, it uploads it. So super easy, fire and forget. After that, different people use different approaches. Some people look at the information after each game. They'll go to the site, they'll pull up a specific replay, and they'll, look over it. Other players, I fall into this category. I use it more for, the overall. So I look at it after a session that I played.
Right.
And then dive into the information based on that session. And then I'll make notes for myself for things the next session that I want to focus on. So if I'm trying to focus on keeping the supply block down, if I go on the site and it says, hey, your season average for being supply blocked is 60 seconds. This session, it was 90. Then I'm going to make a note for myself the next time I play that needs to be improved for me to continue moving forward. And so depending on how, the user and how they go about it, that's usually how most people use the site. I know for the training center, most people use it after a session. Most people don't use it during. They come and they look at a bunch of them after they're all done.
Right.
And then again, they'll make notes for themselves, and then they can take that information and apply it to the next ladder session and slowly get better.
So when you say like notes, you just like the site itself doesn't have like notes to.
The site itself does not have notes, like Notepad.
Okay.
Nothing high tech there. Just something. I mean, everybody has their own method of remembering things. Notepad, a piece of paper, whatever it may be. I'm a firm believer of if you write it down yourself somewhere, you have a better shot of remembering it. So,
like it would make. Oh, there we go. Whew. All right. Whew. You can see. All right. So sweet. Why don't we go to the beginning? Tara, take us to the front homepage. I guess Let's go from the start. Here we are. Little Johnny has created an account. Where do I go?
So Little Johnny, the first time he's been on the site, I mean, you got the big giant hero image that says sign up now with multiple slides. You would click the button. It would take you to a sign up page that would ask for your email and a password.
Yep.
Once you sign up, the next step it would present you with a screen to upload some replays to find your Battle.net account.
Okay. So Little Johnny has uploaded his replays, or he's downloaded the standalone application and done that.
Yep. And so from there, once he's done that, then he has his profile, which is in my account, my profile. And this is basically the home screen for Little Johnny. This is his information. So Little Johnny's been busy this season, has played 242 games.
242 games. Little Johnny, you are a beast.
Playing a lot of games. Pretty good win ratio right there. And so
52%,
52%, and you're beating what the ladder shoots you to have, so you can't complain since the ladder shoots for 50%.
How do you is that like a known statistic that the ladder wants you to be?
Yeah, that is exactly what the ladder tries to keep you at, is 50%. The only time that this isn't true is in bronze and GM.
Really?
Every other time it'll promote you. As soon as you start winning, you're going to play against higher level players
to bring you back down to 52%.
Correct. It will just keep you at 50%.
It's funny because
keep you at 50.
The funny thing is, I come from a Warcraft 3 era. 52% was just it was terrible, because just it seems like you were not consistent, like you were mediocre. Right? Everyone wanted to have like 80 because Warcraft used to publish like they used a very simple, much more simpler ladder screen or profile screen where it just basically showed your win-loss ratio. And that was like the big number that everyone would see when you opened your profile. And it's like 52%, you could have 500 games, but they're like, this guy's not getting into this clan. But it's interesting that like I don't think StarCraft itself actually does like I haven't actually looked into the game in the sense of my profile for this stats, but does it show your percentage for your win ratio?
I don't think it shows a percentage. I think it just shows your wins and losses.
That's what I thought. I was like, because
I don't think there's a hard number.
So that's really cool to get your win percent like right here for you to see.
Yep. And so with this too, what we're looking at is a little section of the dashboard. So between the two lines is an element that people could add in these two vertical lines. So with this, we've got a bunch of stats that people can look at. The ones that are there basically are the ones that people have requested.
So the SQ, that's
SQ is a community-driven statistic. It's called spending quotient. It's been around for a long time. I'm not sure who created it.
I saw it on Team Liquid once.
It is on Team Liquid. That's where I got it from. But basically, what it shows you is how well you quote unquote macroed. Basically, it takes into your unspent resources, your workers created, your income rate to come up with a number. For just informational purposes, if you're above 100, you're doing really well. 80 to 90 still good. 80 to 100 still good. If you're below 80, you have way too much floating money.
Well, little Johnny, you look like you had 98.
You're on that cusp. So, and this changed with Legacy of the Void going real time. Used to be 98 was phenomenal. 98 was top, 10 GM.
Right.
But with real time, that's not the case anymore. The numbers spiked. Now it's more like 140 or 150, I believe, to do that.
The average time that your supply block is 35 seconds.
That's better than me. So that's a pretty good start right there. So,
little Johnny, you're on your way.
And then, from here, it breaks down race matchups. So it looks like little Johnny's playing Protoss and Zerg as the two races. Gets there's the quick information on how the season's going. And then your MMR based on your opponent. So your average MMR, 38, 19. The max you've been is 42. Your minimum's been 32. And then your opponents. That's from this season. Okay. Yeah, it's from this season based on your replays. So
right.
And so highest opponent you've played is 4,300. And then, your average opponent is 38. So right there, you can see that too. The ladder's doing its job wise of keeping little Johnny in his 50% win ratio. His average opponent's MMR is right around his. So he's in a very comfortable spot. He's probably where he should be. Just based on that. So
that's really good. Okay, so let's scroll down and you can
Yep, there we go. Right there. So, and again, these dashboard elements, you can actually configure them. There's about 10 of them, I believe, or more. These are just the default ones that most people
so you can change up what you want to see.
Yep, you can change the order if you want something to be on top or not on top. That's in the settings if you wanted to do that, but we can keep looking at what we got.
Yeah, let's keep going. We'll
this one is something that I'm a big fan of. A lot of people like this. If you were to use the site after every replay, here's a nice link to the last replay that was uploaded. Now, if you mass upload replays, it's going to be just the last processed replay. But as long as you're using the automatic software, it'll always be the last one that was uploaded. So
let's see what happens if you view replay. Let's click that and see what happens. Where we go.
So this takes us into the replay view. So this is where there's a lot of information. This is where you can really dive into the replay. This is a feature that GG Tracker had, really good feature. So had to implement it. So what you can do is if you scroll or hover over that graph,
I just want to point out though that GG Tracker isn't around anymore either. So.
GG Tracker is no longer around. So if you hover over this graph, you notice all the stuff on the bottom changes. So at any point in time, you can dive in and see, okay, we're at the 5-minute mark. You've got 8 larvae. 5 overlords, whatever. You can get all that, all your upgrade information, buildings that are built, supply counts.
You know
all
what
that
I love?
just at your
I
fingertips.
love the supply block. Like
The
bar.
supply block points
That
out,
is like
oh
so
boy,
freaking amazing.
that 36 supply block that Zergs hate.
It's one of these things where like as a tournament organizer, when I went to BlizzCon, Blizzard had this like on their big screen, they had this huge thing that showed when the player hit a supply block. And I've never seen it. It's never been done in any of the tournaments because Blizzard has a special console which lets them get access to that data from the observer. But I thought it was really cool to because it would everything would blink red, so you knew that the player was supply blocked, and it was just really super cool to know that happened. So even knowing from one's perspective when you get supply block was I get frustrated with supply block.
Yeah, and you can use that information. Okay, you got supply blocked, and then 5 seconds later you had a fight and you lost the fight. That means that supply block potentially cost you the game.
Yes.
If you weren't supply blocked, you could have made more units, and your army could have been bigger. So
actually, can you tell when you had a fight from this chart?
Yeah, I mean, army values go down, so that's
drastically
kind of the dead way to know that. But no, it doesn't highlight it for you.
No, of course. What kind of data can you get from here that you can't get from the game?
So let's scroll back up a little bit. There's a button that most people don't see. So if you see active army chart, configure options, click me. If you down just a little bit right there, if you click that, that'll expand.
Did you click it? Tara, click. It says configuration art.
A lot of people don't know it's there. I hit it a little. Yeah, I hit it a little too well. So this will actually allow you to add more information to this chart. So what this will do is draw new lines underneath the other ones. The big one is there's a couple things you can do in game. So easily unspent resources, workers active. A lot of these things you can see in game, but on top of an active army chart with everything else at the same time, you can't. Now, income advantage, this is another user suggested feature. What this will show is who has more income at a given time. So if it's blue, the blue player has more income. If it's red, then the red player has more income. And it'll show you the income difference if you hover over it, how much more income they have.
This dash has, and the different points are red or blue depending on who has more income.
Correct. Yeah, it's one line, but it'll change colors. If it goes down, it's blue. If it goes up, it's red. But you'll see who has more income. What their income advantage is, minerals and gas. So you can easily tell, really quickly, was I winning the resource battle or not? Or, was I really far behind?
On top of what the other situation in context, like supply block, was I winning the income, but was I supply blocked at the same time? Was I, was my army, was I in a fight while I was supply blocked while still winning the income? So is that one of the ones that are not in the game, income advantage?
Correct. Yeah, they're I believe the game heart interface might do it.
The WCS shows it while you're in game during a replay, but afterwards.
Only if you use that mod, though.
Yes.
Just a normal ladder game, you wouldn't be able to see that.
No.
The other thing at your fingertips that are not easy to tell is upgrades. You'd have to click on a unit. I think. Oh, maybe there isn't it. Maybe there is an upgrades tab. I might be wrong. I could be wrong. There probably is an upgrade one. I skim this line chart, way more often than I skim a replay. So,
well, that's I definitely I could see that being more used. What else? What else do we got in
here? So there's
heat maps. What does the heat map do? Let's
scroll down before we jump there. There's a fun feature. So, I think I said earlier, I don't add a lot of fluff features. There is a fluff feature on this page that a lot of people like, that enough people asked for that I did. So right here, this is just, summed information, give you the length of the game, the date it was played, the type. It'll give resource information, collection rate, workers, all that information that you'd ever want.
Hero units.
Hero units. So something that, was requested to be added. I had it on overlays originally. So I pick a hero unit based on the most kills and then I give it a fun little name. You know, so Colonel Spencer.
Colonel Spencer the Poison. Admiral Whitney the Prince.
So that's a fun little feature.
Randomly generated.
It's randomly generated. So, so fun little feature that, you know, a lot of people like to look at. Kind of neat. So,
but I think that has some value too. You know that what unit you use the most that does the most kind of kills. It gives you the kind of.
Well, there's other ways we can see that information a little better, but
sure.
For this is one unit, so it's kind of neat. But yeah, we can go up to the top and look at heat maps now.
I want to start naming my units Colonel Spencer. Yeah, let's heat map. Ooh.
So heat map is, I show two sections right now. On the left, we have structures built. This is where you build buildings, and as Zerd, it's usually not super interesting. You know, hatch, spine. They're usually pretty boring. Yeah, apparently made a wall, whoever was bottom left in this game. And then the right side is where units died. So clumps of units that died are individual. So you can kind of see where fights took place, which is
really cool.
Which is good information for maps. Like if you were to look at your replay and go, I'm fighting at that bottom third every time. Maybe I really need to push creep further along on that base so that I have more vision to protect it. You know, stuff like that you can use it for.
I want to now, and we're probably going to get into this when we go into the training center. Does this kind of information come up in the training center?
The heat map doesn't, and I don't do anything with. I don't. The training center doesn't focus on micro aspects of the game. It focuses purely on macro.
Gotcha. Okay, what's the next area?
So these are the players. So if you click on, you know, Terra,
let's see Terra stats. Let's see Terra stats.
So this will break down your build order, your units produced. So this is a better representation of units produced. So we can see 56 lings were produced. And of course we got missed injects at the bottom. It'll start pinning where you didn't inject. But so like here we got 56 lings were produced, 50 died, got 11 kills, I think, if I'm remembering the columns correctly. I might have got the columns backwards, so I can't see them. But break that information down, all the units. The missed injects basically will try to tell you hatches that didn't get injected. This isn't perfect. This isn't something the game provides. This is something that I came up with.
Ooh, 93% efficiency.
Yeah, so what it does basically is it takes a queen that has injected a hatch, and now I know that hatch exists, and I expect it to be injected again. If there's a gap, that's what it's showing. So that blue line, a queen injected, when that inject ended, there was a 46-second gap before it was injected again, that hatch. Doesn't necessarily mean that queen, just that hatch. And so that's what it shows. So, you know, your goal is to keep it as low as possible. This is a ZVZ, so it's not surprising that right around that 430 mark when laying pressure would happen, that there's a gap. Yeah. It's not, you know, but, you know, another way to, you know, help you say, okay, well, I come in here and that chart has lines everywhere. Oh boy, I need to work on injecting. So.
Okay, so where should we go next?
So this is the basically we've seen everything that you can see on the replay. Oh, I guess there's one more thing. If you go to abilities used, there's a tab, ability used to the left, right next to build order units. Down a little bit.
Down. There we go.
Yeah. So this will show all the abilities that are used that you used in game and how many times you used it, and then an average of how many times you use them per game. Just as another.
Across all your replays.
Yep, everything that's been uploaded for. Yeah, I think it's just this season, I think is all it actually looks at. But maybe not. There's more than games than Little Johnny uploaded. So it must be a little longer than a season. But yeah, so you can kind of see the commands you issued. This is every command. This is a feature that changed about 8 months ago. It is every ability in the game. I hide a couple just because they're noise. But, I mean... They're like if you sprayed the ground with an effect, that would show up. It would be there. But yeah, that's kind of fun. You can kind of see what you're using, what you're not using.
Okay. So where's next?
So if we go back to the profile page, so my account, my profile at the top. Oh, maybe.
Okay.
Sure.
So okay. So with that kind of information, someone has that kind of information. What can they do ultimately with stuff like the abilities used and stuff like that, or is that kind of like just to know?
That's more of a just to know. You're not really going to say, hey, look, I casted fungal 15 times. That's going to make a huge difference. I mean, that's not really the case. That's more of a fun stat. Some people like it. But yeah,
okay,
that's not going to get you to GM knowing that. So
could you actually and you mentioned there were GMs in here. Is there a lot of value to GMs from this site?
So the value comes down a little bit because the training center isn't that useful to GMs. But why is it the dashboard? The dashboard is definitely useful to GMs. That's information anybody can use.
Right.
Being able to skim a replay, that's information anybody can use. A lot of GMs use the site more for the streaming features, for the replay, uploading, for the stream overlay. That's a lot of the reasons why they use the site, because it creates a better show for their viewers. And so they
makes total sense. Why don't we jump back into the profile, my profile?
So on the profile page, I mean, we got a lot of links on the left. This is all the stats you can dive down to. Basically, it's going to take any approach you want to do. So
yeah, let's choose some key ones. Just one or two.
So division and map are key ones. So division, this is again why I created the site. I wanted to know, am I beating masters? Am I beating diamonds? Am I beating platinums? And then per matchup, where am I winning? So like if we look at these ProDOS stats, so the interesting thing that jumps out, that PVZ at a platinum level, owning Zergs, 100% win ratio. That is not a problem. But as soon as we get to diamond, that comes down a lot. We're only at a 50% win ratio. So just kind of interesting information.
It gives you kind of like a context to yourself in the overall grand scheme of things.
Yep. Kind of where you're sitting. Just kind of interesting. So at least I find it interesting.
No, it is, because it has this element where you can get feedback on how far you have to go, really, or how far you've come. Like, you're like, okay, well, obviously I'm dominating, and I played a gold, completely destroyed them, obviously. Platinum, I'm doing okay, treading a little bit. Diamond, I'm treading a little bit of water or whatever. Or sorry, in platinum, I'm doing not bad. And then in diamond, it's like, struggles. The struggles are real, and that's exactly what we're kind of seeing, because 5-0 PVZ in platinum, and then PVZ in diamond, 46%. Right. So there's an overall total. What's this overall total? Is that like?
So that's every race you played. So we got Zerg and ProDOS replays, Little Johnny. So that's his overall total for all the games played.
And then what's
this season?
This season. Okay.
Yeah. So we should probably point that out. So if you scroll back to the top, there's a filter, this filter bar. It says Terra 1v1 Auto MMM Season 35. This is the filter bar. It's going to filter information. So right now, by default, it always selects 1v1 and Auto MMM, but you can filter 2v2, 3v3, if you play that, or whatever season you want to look at. And then we get more information. And so
that's cool. I didn't think there was going to be 2v2, and I saw that you even have Archon mode too.
It does support Archon mode. It'll do all team games, Archon mode. Co-op is not supported. They do upload, and you can find them if you're sneaky, but they don't really work.
What about map? So
let's go back to 1v1 though, because it makes it.
Oh yeah.
They're helpful, but you got to filter again. But it does get a little noisy. So maps, this is just going to break down the win-loss ratio by matchup by map. You know, so you can see, you could easily see if there's a problem area map that, you know, maybe should get vetoed, you know. So yeah, Acid Plant, if as a Zerg, that's a veto, you know, 25% win ratio. I tend to have a rule when I use this information, I play 10 games on a map. And if I'm, you know, if I'm well under 50% by 10 games, you know, a lot of times I'll veto it at that point.
Looks like Lil Johnny has a problem with Black Pink.
Yeah. Yeah, Black Pink LE would be on my short list to veto with the 0 and 3.
Catalyst, I'm impressed with Catalyst. I thought it would have been lower, 64%. What about Neon Violet Square up 52%? Okay. Not bad, not bad. What and Eastwatch is 43%.
Yeah, so Eastwatch to definitely be, as a Protoss player, would be vetoing it potentially. It'd be on my short list of a veto. But again, I do believe you should play almost 10 games on a map and a given matchup to get a good feel, because the sample size is too small. Let's say you played 5 games and you get cheese 3 times. Well, that's not really a good, you know, feeling for the map that, you know, maybe I should veto it. It's more of maybe I should learn how to hold the cheese and then worry about vetoing. So
essentially, you want to have a good sample to make sure you're getting
the better sample
accurate.
size before.
Yeah.
You know, so, but it would be, but based on this information, those would be on my short list of I'd be watching. You know, if I keep dropping games on these maps, I might veto them.
And even if you're like, I guess if you're even playing in a tournament, right, your local land or something like that, you would like know what maps you should maybe veto.
Yeah. Oh, and that's yeah. If you're playing a tournament, this is quick information you can grab. It's saying, well, I'm vetoing this map. I know I'm playing a Zerg. My win rate versus Zerg is awful on, you know, Eastwatch. Great, it's gone.
That to me would be like the #1 quintessential thing I would want to know. Where I'm like, when I'm playing a player, like I'm playing in a, you know, I'm doing vetoes in a tournament. I'm going to be like, hold on 1 second. I'm going to check my play stats. 1 second. And then be like, okay, all right, veto this, and this.
I know the maps.
Yeah, and for example, like one of the things I always keenly notice when we're doing tournaments, players they'll try to think in their head. They'll try to remember what their current position. Like when we're doing vetoes, they'll be like, oh, okay, I vote veto Eastwatch, because they're like, oh, because I just don't like that map. They don't really have empirical data that map is necessarily bad.
Yeah.
Right? So, yeah. Out of these other stats, what is like one more we should take a look at before we jump into the training center?
The one more, so the one that I find interesting is I find the opponent's one interesting. It's at the bottom, yeah. So I like to see who I'm playing against, and if I've played against them a lot. If you're in your sweet spot in your MMR, you will play the same people over and over again, most likely, if they're inside the same MMR.
Is there a way to sort by record?
It's sorting by record already.
Oh,
so that's why we're seeing the 1s and 2s at the top. So looks like you've only ever played somebody twice, and so has destroyed you. You played him within a month, got you both times. You know, and you can kind of get an idea of the average workers that they created and average collection rate. So this information is useful. So I could easily come and search this, and I'm going to see, okay, my average length for playing, you know, player, well, let's say this cookie guy is 3 minutes and 45 seconds. Well, that's pretty much not a macro game at this point. We've determined that cheese is happening. So now I'm prepared. You know, I can easily look and say, I played this guy before. This name looks familiar. Oh my gosh, this game's 4 minutes long. You know, all right, we're not going 2 hatch, you know, before pool. That's not happening in this game, you know. Or
is that something like what people might do? They might have on their second screen have this up like while
I do. Yeah, if the name sounds familiar, I'll open this up and do a Control F real quick.
Right. While it's in the loading screen.
Yeah, because you have plenty of time. Games don't load that quick.
No, you got you just Control F and find that person real quick.
Yeah. So yeah, this is something I think is kind of interesting.
Oh man, that's totally useful. I know exactly how I would use that. Let's check out the training center. Let's do it. This one really excites me. So this is part of like the premium features of the site.
Correct.
Okay, so here we're at training center. So total games recommended a week. It's recommending you play 30 games.
30 games to get to Masters.
To get to Masters, okay.
Yep. So this actually changes based on your league. If you're in bronze, I think I recommend 5 or 10, and then it just kind of increments from there. The more games you play, the better and the faster you're going to get.
Right.
I'm very much a fan of repetition. I think you should play more if you want to get better. If you're shooting for GM, I think it's 50 games. So, which is probably not even enough realistically. But that's kind of what it's going to recommend there. It's going to take whatever your current highest league is and going to recommend the league above you. So, for this account, Johnny's in Diamond. We're trying to show information based on Masters players. So we're going to compare you to somebody that's better than you so that you can actually get better.
Level up slightly. Yeah. So one of my most important and favorite thing about this site, or why I originally sought it out, was because I'm a big supporter of like dedicated practice or like, focused practice.
Mm-hmm.
And like, instead of just playing a whole bunch of ladder games, knowing exactly what I'm doing, like with a goal in mind. And I feel like that's what a lot of this part of the training center is about.
Yep. The way I like to describe the training center to people is it's an automated coach. This is information that you would expect a coach to present you in somewhat of a generic fashion in some places. But it is still, it's something that, if I were to coach somebody and I were to write a notepad, they would get similar information that I'm presenting here. There's a few tabs here. So the first one that it defaults to is the replay. But if we go to the improvement focus points, this is going to list by matchup the top 3 things that it's suggesting that you need to focus on per matchup. So as Protoss, the big thing that shows up in 3 of the matchups, all 3 of them actually, is make sure that we're producing out of our production facilities. So what this means is it's noticed that you've made production facilities, you have enough, but your money's climbing and you're not building units. So
if I click more details, will it show me how it came to that conclusion?
It doesn't show you how it came to that conclusion. It'll give you more information. What I'm trying to describe.
Right.
Yeah, which is basically what I just told you. So, so supply block is a common one. And I think there's about 10 of these rules that can come up. They can get selected.
How do you know if you've fixed it, I guess, really? Like, how do I know I've accomplished it? Would it disappear?
It would move down and something would take its place. Where you can get a little more insights into that is actually the overall progress.
Okay, let's do that.
This is going to give raw data points over a course of a week, I believe. When we get there.
Soon as Tara, give us overall progress. Let's do it. Behind door number 1. There we are.
Perfect. Okay. So the training center breaks data down into early, mid, late economy, abilities, and production. So, and then from here, I'm going to show you the league goal. So we're shooting for masters. So this is what an average masters does. And then given a given day, these are the values. So if we look at the first one, the average army value, this is saying between the first 4 minutes, my average army value.
Okay, so hold on. So the first column is the league goal, and then the other numbers after is like what you've done in those particular
what your average is for that day.
Okay.
Yep. So we can see definitely as the average army value that we've struggled producing units. We're under where our counterparts in a master, they're producing 1 more unit, basically is what it looks like on this number, than we are producing, which in the first 4 minutes,
in the early games,
that's a lot. Yeah.
Right. Oh, that's really valuable information.
Yeah. So we can look at the next line and we can take more information. We can dive in. So we're seeing the average resource collection rate. We're doing really well. So we're giving up a unit, but we're gaining a probe or 2 potentially. This is how you would read into this, because our income's better than the average master. But that may not be the right choice, depending on, are we losing in the early game or not?
Right. Oh,
so you can start, painting yourself a picture based on this information.
Is there any way to tie that all together? Like, obviously you painted it for me, but when I look at it, is there a way for me to kind of, I'm gonna have to piece that together, aren't I?
So that's the improvement focus points. I'm painting a picture for you.
Right. Okay.
Because what I just told you is not going to go, we're not producing out of our gateways. Most likely we have a gateway that has a stall if we're talking about ProDOS at this point, which I think we are, we had a gateway that didn't produce a unit. It didn't do anything.
So
and
the improvement,
that's what I'm suggesting to you right now is you had production facilities, you had enough, but it didn't produce a unit.
I got it. So the improvement focus points basically pulls from this overall progress to give you what you, okay.
Yep. And when we look at one specific replay, I call it guided focus points, and I do the same thing and I outline it, and we can get there in a second, but that's how I paint the picture for you.
Right. Didn't lose too many workers. Total supply blocked 0. Okay. Wow. Workers produced pretty good. Why don't we choose a late game? Let's go mid and late game. Let's see what mid and late game gives us.
Mid's really the more important one, because the late game, it is just a kind of a catch-all, 8+ minutes. So if you have a lot of replays that are 20 minutes, it's not as useful. Most games I have found average around the 12-minute mark, so it works pretty well, but something to keep in mind. But for the mid game, this is where a lot of the meat of StarCraft happens.
Right.
So we can see right now, at least for the army value, we're doing good. We're producing units. We're holding strong. We're a couple units more than what our masters counterpart are doing. So we had a couple bad days in a row, but overall not bad. So the next ladder session, if I were to look at this, I'd make sure I'm producing units out of my gateways.
Right.
Because I two bad days in a row, especially the last day was bad. What happened?
So we have average time over 30% free supply.
Yep. So this one, there's two sides of this. So one, being supply blocked is bad, but on the other side, making 15 pylons is also bad if you don't need them. So that's what over 30 supply is saying. So if you make it so that your max supply is 30% more than your what you have currently, that's bad.
Oh, oversupplied.
Yeah, you oversupplied. And so, that would be something, if I were looking at this, it'd be like, okay, I'm making too many pylons at a given time. Too quickly.
Or if this is
and that day was awful. I don't know what happened there.
119.
A lot of time.
Maybe just trolling. 119.
So that's what that's pointing out, because that's just as bad as being supply blocked.
Right.
And in some ways you could argue worse. So
didn't lose too many workers. Looks like on April 5th, 18 workers lost.
So. Yep. Bunch of bad days in a row where the poor workers did not get defended the way they should.
Yeah,
but that got corrected, it looks like 3 days ago. So much better.
Well, Johnny, you're improving. We love it. All right, just let's take a quick peek into the late game. I'm curious. Late game. What does the late game look like?
Yeah, same kind of stuff again. Usually the interesting ones are, army value, but that's, again, subjective to how long the games are. Resource collection rate looks like, you're doing great, more than enough income. Most of the time, what I'm interested in when I look at late game, I'm looking more like how many workers I produced and how many I lost, because that's, I find, interesting.
Okay, I'm curious about economy then. I'm curious to know where this economy tab is going to pop up.
Economy tab. So this is going to break down your 1 base saturation, 2 base, 3 base. When you made, actually, I guess we're looking at Zerg, your hatcheries, what time you hit this. So the first line, 1 base saturation, Vespine per minute, so 234. Your goal, the league average is 550. You're doing it a little before. Now this is a double-edged sword. When you get to a higher league play, being really early isn't necessarily a positive thing. So like on April 4th, we're 433. That's probably too quick. You're giving up something else that you shouldn't have. You sacrifice something for the gas, and what you usually are sacrificing is the minerals per minute. So some of these stats you do have to take with a grain of salt, and you do have to think about a little bit on where
in context with
context of what you're going for. If you're going for a really heavy, a tech build, that's not necessary. That might be valid, but it might not. But from a bronze to, like I said, about diamond, you should be aiming for these numbers.
And I see the dates. Is this all the replays played during that date? Is one? Correct. Are these okay?
Averages for that date. So this just gives you a nice overview to kind of see how you're progressing. But yeah, so economy, you know, how to get to 2 base, 3 base, you know, when we're getting there. So, you know, we can quickly kind of see that 2 base, you know, not quite as good. 1 base, no problems. 2 base struggled to get up the gas. The gas is late. And then the 3rd base saturation, struggling. So apparently there was not one game that you made it that long in April 10th, because that's funny, it's zeros. So, but yeah, so that's kind of this tab.
Abilities.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, we can go abilities. That's fine.
Yeah, let's see abilities.
So these are abilities that you created, that you added. So, you know, ground carapace, missile attacks, melee weapons, and when they finished. It's not when they started; it's when they finished.
So this is compared to the average of master players.
Yeah, and I'm not sure why the average is 0. I'll have to look into that. Yeah, for a few of them. So
a few of them.
Yeah, something's wrong there. So I'll have to look into that. Most likely means I didn't find any replays that have it when I summed it. So, which is odd because that should have been something, but something to look into.
Let's see production then. Production.
So production, these are buildings. And this is also really useful to give you an idea of when you should build buildings. You know, so if you're not really sure, you know, when does somebody actually make their hive? You know, when does a Hydrolan desk actually go down? You know, gives you.
Is this land like when you build it or when it finishes?
I'm sorry, it's when it finishes. So okay. Yeah, so when it's done.
That can help you with your timings and your your builds.
Get you an idea. So yeah. So that's the overall progress. This kind of gives you the insights of how it's going. So if we go back to the replays tab and we actually click on a replay, we can just click on the top one. That's fine. Maybe. All right. So here's the guided focus that I was talking about. So this will break down, you know, more information on, you know, spending resources. So in the early game, we're floating some money in this game. We did not spend our resources as well as we should have. Or we're either getting supply
like a big red X. It's like,
Yeah, and I only show things that you need to improve on. I'm not giving you high fives. That bugs some people.
But it's not like
I'm not gonna cuddle you. I'm sorry. I'm gonna try to point out the things that you need to work on.
This is a hard ass like digital coach where it's like spend more resources.
Take care of it. So yeah. So in the early game, we can see we didn't spend our money well and we lost some workers. And it's giving suggestions on how to fix it. So generic suggestions, of course, but suggestions.
So this is not going to tell you, like if you start doing it next time, it's not going to be like a check mark. It's just
it won't be a check mark. It just won't be there. If you fix it, it won't be there. So like if we click on mid, there could be less, there could be more.
So more.
There's more. So then, so we have 3 things. So and this is where that over 30 supply. So we way made too many overlords in this game between 4 and 8 minutes. You know, so that would be something to, you know, take on to the next game or the next session, you know, make sure I'm constantly building them and I don't make 7 or 8 at one time.
That's good. It's like, you know what to, because they can just look at your last game and just make a quick sort of what needs to be done for this next game coming up that I'm queuing up for.
Yep.
What I need to do. All right. Got it.
Yep. And so late game, same thing. It would show if there's anything. Oh my gosh, that's where. So late game, this game didn't go so well. So not quite as good. So, but again, it would give you lots of information, and you know you could take that and then slowly start working on improving it.
And I'm presuming the raw data points are we're just like
the raw data points are exactly what we just looked at, but this is only for this replay. And a lot of people like that. So the guided focus point, I'd say most bronze to platinum players, that's what they use. And then the platinum to like masters players that use this tool, they use the raw data points only. They don't really look at the guided focus points. They're more interested in those exact timings.
Yeah, but then they're able to make their own kind of.
They can paint their own picture. I don't paint it for them. So, yeah. And so that's kind of the training center in a nutshell.
And in terms of, I think the last part I was kind of curious of before we kind of wrap this up was there was challenges. I remember reading something about challenges.
Yeah.
Like ladder challenges.
So the 1v1 ladder challenge, it's under challenges. I think it's still running this season. Basically, this came from a Blizzard Forum MVP, the Skunk, who has helped me with content on the site a lot. It was something he was running through forum posts and manually adding the data up. But the idea of it is to consistently play. You know, we talk about structured practice, but a part of that is you need to consistently play. You need to play constantly during the week. You can't expect to play Monday and then wait 2 weeks and play the next Monday. You're never going to improve doing that. You need to play constantly. So what this does is this gives you a challenge. You pick how many games a week you want to do. We're not signed up. It's on the bottom. But you basically select your level of games. Yep. So you could select level 1, 5 games, or it goes up to 110 games. And yes, there are people that play more than 110 games a week. Just answer that question now. And no, they are not always streamers. Yeah, so you can pick your...
So will it email me if I like fall below? Because I saw it said email. Will it like say to me like, hey?
No, I did that at one point. I mean, this is the 14th season I've done this. But no, mostly that is if I were to email stats out about the challenge.
Okay.
I've done giveaways for people that have completed it, things like that. That basically is making it so that I can email you if I choose to do that.
Okay.
I don't. It takes time. So
no, it makes sense. Absolutely.
Yeah, so that's what the 1v1 challenge is. It basically keeps track of how many games you play a week. And once you pick your level, that's the level for the season. And your goal is to play that many games a week. And it's a revolving week. So not a revolving week, I'm sorry. It starts fresh every week. So the week is from Sunday to Saturday night. It is in Mountain Standard Time is when it ends. So it ends my Saturday night.
You know what I like about this like challenge? It reminds me of like a reading challenge, or like if anyone has like Google Fit or anything, those kind of things where it's like you got to run 5 times.
You're falling behind. Come on now. You said you were gonna do 25 games. I see 5. You have 1 day and 4 hours to get me 20 games. Make it happen. And it works. And I get a lot of feedback. If I don't start this up, I don't kick it up for the next season, I get some emails saying, hey now, where's my 1v1 challenge? You know,
I believe it. I could see it. It's a big motivator. I use it on all sorts of stuff. Like I have a reading challenge and I have like a running challenge and that kind of stuff. So I believe it. Must be a huge motivator. Motivator.
It helps you a lot. So yeah, it's a fun little feature. So, and it keeps track for you. You don't have to do anything. And
even better. I love it. Stuff that doesn't require my input.
Exactly. So, and the last feature I'd point out that a lot of people like, and a lot of people aren't aware of it. It is a paid feature, but it is the search page. So if we
search page, where should we go for that?
I think it's in my account, and I believe there's a link in there. Yeah, search. So this is a search page for. It's not every replay. It's replays for the last handful of seasons. So right now, what we're searching is 1.8 million replays that have been uploaded to the site that are public. So pretty much if you can't find the replay in here, it probably doesn't exist. So you can filter anything you want, so at the top, we got a bunch of filters for server, race, if you wanted to look at only EU or what races, the divisions, if you wanted to look globally, team size, so let's select team size of 1v1.
Can I find by like players too? Can I be like
you can search by players?
Can I find like pro players?
You can find pro players.
Looks like we're looking for Gumiho.
Yeah, you'll see if you find it. Pro players are tough. So I would, for a pro player, the next thing I would do actually is I'd also select MMR. I would try to limit.
Oh, Scarlet. Let's see if we can find Scarlet replays.
Yeah, so the problem is you're going to find people's names who's match that. So on the MMR side, let's go ahead and change the MMR to the left, far left. There you go. Scroll down in that box, the MMR box. There'll be select Grandmaster. This should help. So there you go. Now we're actually seeing Scarlet. These are her replays that have been uploaded. So we got a couple games from a couple months ago, a month ago.
Goes to Pillow. Looks like he played against her. Oh, a couple other people played against. Oh, Kelazor.
Yeah. So tournament replays most of the time get uploaded. Sometimes they get flagged correctly. Sometimes they don't. It's unfortunately a manual process on my part. So, but yeah, so you could, this is more useful. So a lot of people think watching pro replays is the way to go. I actually don't believe that's the case. I believe
really? Why is that?
I'm Masters. I can't do what Scarlet does. So watching what Scarlet does doesn't do me any good. I don't have the APM. I can't move that fast. I can't think that fast. I can't physically do what she's capable of doing. So it's much more beneficial to look at somebody that's marginally better than me, because I should be able to do what they're doing. So, again, if I'm in Masters, then I'm going to look at, if I'm in Masters 3, I'm going to look for Masters 2's players,
You mean that's specific too.
Yep. Broken down by each tier.
Why don't we click on a Masters 2? Oh, you did. Okay, here we go.
So we are searching by Scarlet. So we'll have to get rid of that if you didn't. No, you did get rid of it. I'm sorry. So we're searching Masters 3. So let's say we were looking for ZVT. So you could select the main race as Zerg. And then you could select the opponent's race as Terran. And I would also select only ladder games because mostly I'm interested in ladder games. I'm curious what people are doing. So game type, it would be auto MMM as ladder. And now we can filter those games. And if we had a problem time zone, like say we have 5 to 8 minutes or 8 to 13 that we're struggling, now we can filter. Ooh. So 5 to 8 is good. So I like this. So now let's say, okay, now I know we found Zerg Terran games. Now let's say I'm more interested in games where they're making cyclones. I want more mech-based games. So if we go back to the left side, we scroll down a little bit, we'll see some units. So we could find some cyclones. So we pass cyclones or whatever we were looking for. And so cyclones. So now we're looking at games between 5 and 8 minutes at a Masters 3 level that cyclones were produced. And you could keep going down. Let's say there's a specific map. If I want
acid plant, let's do acid plant.
Acid plant. So maps on the far left.
Far left.
Down one more.
There you go. Acid plant.
Now we're looking at games at a Masters level, ZVT, that are 5 to 8 minutes that are uploaded. And so then we could go through here and we could find a bunch of replays saying, okay, let's find me some Zerg replays that, who won to this kind of stuff. And then I could watch them and I could see, okay, what are they doing? How did they win?
Oh, were you able to choose the winner? Or is that just...
If you scroll to the top, I don't think you can choose the winner, but you can show winners. It's right below. It's right next to the search button. There's a lot of features on this search page. So the search button is over down to the right, basically. Okay, scroll up. It's hard
up.
Right there, you almost touched it. Right below the 5 to 8 minute. You'll see
one more. Yeah.
So now when you search, now it'll put a little chalice cup next to the winner. So we can see the Terran one there. So okay, that doesn't help us, We were
that's fine. Now we know. Well, the Terran one doesn't help us. No.
Yeah, we would look for one where the Zerg won. So you could find basically anything you're looking for. And you can limit it to only this season, which we are looking at this season right now, basically. But yeah, there's a lot of options. The left side options, I think there's 6 or 7 of those panels, everything on top. You can add abilities, units, the replay version. So if you want to make sure you guarantee you're only watching replays that are from the current version, so you don't have to be signed out every time, that's how you do it. So you can find them. This also allows you to search your own replays. If you're looking for something specific, you can also just filter it to your own replays, not just globally. Right now, this is globally. It's right next to the player search is how you would limit to yourself. If you want to only look at my replays, which, you may not have anything that meets this, which you don't.
You don't make any cyclones.
Yeah, well, at a Masters 3 level. So, but yeah, so this is a feature that I know a lot of people like that know about it, but I don't promote it enough. But we started with 1.8 million replays, and that's just from the last, I believe, 3 seasons is about all I usually keep in the search. So there's not a real reason to go back further than that.
Yeah, I imagine this dumps after a while, like when the replays sort of become obsolete.
From the search, I dump them, and I don't from the site. You can go back.
Oh, really?
Far. If you've uploaded them, I'll hold on to them. I don't remove them.
Wow.
So I have replays from 2013 still.
That
they don't work on the site because the site's changed a lot, but I have them. You can't watch them in client either, but they exist. So I'll hold on to it.
That legacy data though still?
Anything that I supported back then, I still have. So
ooh, cool. You could probably like track the meta over the course of like the inception of 2013 to now, like how well the ProDOS have come, gone, declined, and risen again.
Yeah, and that's information I've actually posted on Reddit a few times when people
really
request. I've posted win-loss stats by map, by game length.
You'd kind of be like a keeper of the holocron. Like you'd have data that just goes way back in terms of overall community progress that you just probably wouldn't be able to get very many other places.
Yeah, I believe the only place that has more information than I do, and it's not even confirmed, is Blizzard. I don't think anybody else has more replays, more recent replays. Than
I don't think I can think of anywhere else that would have like you were like this archive was like this like the StarCraft archive of everybody's games trapped into one.
Anybody that uploads. The scary thing, so I'll throw out a little scary stat for you. So the site's uploaded a little over 7 million replays since its start. A given season, I average what I consider about 4% of the total games played are actually what is uploaded.
Like 4% of all games?
All 1v1. Only 1v1 numbers because there's no solid way to get like co-op numbers or
right. Like of all the total games played on Star
1v1 ladder games, I average about 4% of those replays uploaded, and I have 7 million replays. So you can let that sink in a little bit and how much data Blizzard potentially has if they store any of this.
So, I couldn't imagine. Like, I imagine Blizzard may or may, like, I imagine they keep the data and they probably don't keep the replays. Like,
I bet they do. I bet they keep. I know they keep some of the replays. I just don't know how long they keep them. They have an API endpoint that they anonymize the replays for the API section, not the API, the AI section.
Yes, the AI for sure for it to learn.
Yeah, so you can download about 4K replays a day, I believe, that are anonymized, meaning they've stripped all the player information, all the events. They're useful for them. They're not useful for me. So I know they keep some replays. I just don't know how long they keep them.
So you are probably the most public.
I am the most public for total replays, definitely. Current replays.
Replays. Well, I think we did a really thorough walkthrough. I thought that was a lot of fun. I'm really glad we got a chance to go through it. I learned a lot. I think as a value proposition to like people in the community, this Sc2 ReplayStats has a really awesome proposal for people to use to get better. I think we're going to wrap it up here, but I think I'd like to know from your perspective, is there anything that we may have missed or you wanted to throw out there before we wrap it up, the show up?
No, I think we did a pretty good job of going through most of the feature site. There is more. There is a lot of features on the site. We didn't cover them all.
But we want to be a little bit mystique. We want to just, give a little bit of like we want to be a little bit mystique. We want to make sure we give people good, like, scrape the icing off the cake and put it in the plate. You're like, all right, you have to wait for more. Go sign up on Sc2ReplayStats.com and make an account and get your own. And you have to what's the minimum 10 replays? So at least make sure you have 10 games.
Yeah, 10 replays, more the merrier. You're not going to break it. But 10 is what it needs to find your account. And then you go from there. I love feedback. Like I said earlier, I may not necessarily implement what you suggest, but I love hearing it. I love people's ideas, and people can reach out on the site directly. There's easy ways to contact me, or Discord or Twitter or really anything. I'm pretty available.
Speaking of which, since we're there, how do people get a hold of you?
So on the site, there's a little question mark at the bottom of every page. You can click on that, and that sends me an email. And as long as it doesn't get flagged in spam, which unfortunately has happened a couple times, I will respond. I usually respond in 24 to 48 hours pretty consistently. That's a good way to respond to me. Discord, I have a Discord server. As long as I'm awake, that's actually the fastest way to get a hold of me. Or Twitter or Facebook. If you can't figure out a way to get a hold of me, you're doing something wrong.
What are those? Is it just all Sc2ReplayStats?
All Sc2ReplayStats. Of course, Discord has some weird hash. It's not Sc2ReplayStats, but Twitter is Sc2ReplayStats. Facebook is Sc2ReplayStats.
Okay, so we'll try to put in the show notes for those of you watching on YouTube, the link to the Discord, and if you guys are on Twitch, the bot will spew that out for you to take a look at, or one of my mods will do it and something like that, and you'll be able to get yourself into that Discord and find Anthony here and let him know. And then for Twitter and Facebook, all of it is Sc2ReplayStats. So all one good go.
Yep.
All right, guys. I think we're going to wrap up the show. I learned a lot. I myself is a huge endorser. I think this is an awesome product. But before I get into my wrapping up spiel, I want to thank Anthony so much for being the guest on tonight's show.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
No, thank you. So, guys, part of the show has always been about ways how to help you make your StarCraft life easier. And I hope that we've done that here today, going through Sc2ReplayStats. So, as per usual, if you want to follow the show, you enjoy what we do, go to ESChamp.com/ITC. You get a customized email of the next episode of this show, as well as the other stuff, like obviously Kings of the North is coming back up shortly at the end of this year, close to October, so be sure you're ready for notifications for that, as well as the local lands that we do in Toronto. Follow ESChamp on Twitch to get notified about all the upcoming projects and broadcasts that we have coming up. And as always, we wouldn't be able to do this show without viewers like you. So if you guys need to get a hold of me on ESChamp, Twitter, Facebook, all ESChamp, Instagram would be ESChamp if it wasn't for Eric Champ, who stole ESChamp. So it's ESChamp GG on Instagram. But other than that, all the same. So until next time, guys, we'll see you on Inside the Champ.